He measured people by wealth and power, until a waitress's reply, spoken in flawless French, changed everything. The restaurant was filled with the soft glow of golden chandeliers, the air scented with roasted garlic and vintage wine. Laughter floated through the room as wealthy guests clinked their glasses, celebrating business victories and fancy lifestyles. And yet, in the middle of that luxury, one young woman carried plates from table to table, her shoulders straight, but her eyes heavy with unspoken struggle. She was invisible to most, just another waitress in a crisp white shirt and black apron. But tonight, fate would turn her into the center of every eye in the room. For when a billionaire decided to mock her in French, thinking she was beneath him, she responded in a way that no one expected, leaving him frozen, humbled, and forever changed. If you believe in kindness, respect, and second chances, then please take a moment to like this video. Share it with someone who needs hope and subscribe. Together, we can spread stories that remind the world of humanity's true beauty. The young waitress's name was Elise. To most people, she was just another face behind the tables. But what they didn't see was the world of sacrifice and quiet battles she fought each day. Elise was a student of languages at a university she could barely afford. By day, she attended classes, devouring books on literature and translation. By night, she worked in this upscale restaurant, serving the very people who would never guess the depth of her intelligence. Her hands were often sore from carrying trays, her feet swollen from hours of standing. Yet she smiled with quiet dignity, because she believed every hardship was a step toward a brighter future. What none of the diners knew was that Elise's journey into this world of luxury began from poverty. Her father had once been a factory worker, her mother a seamstress, but when illness swept through their household, Elise became the one to shoulder responsibility. She worked every spare hour, saving pennies and refusing to give up on her dream of building a life beyond survival. Her classmates admired her brilliance, but only she knew the weight of the nights spent crying silently, praying she could hold everything together. It was on a winter evening, when the snow tapped gently against the tall restaurant windows, that the moment of destiny arrived. A powerful businessman, one of the city's billionaires, entered with a woman on his arm. He was well known for his arrogance, for the way he measured people not by their hearts but by their wealth and social standing. His name was Laurent, and he carried himself with the smug assurance of a man who thought the world belonged to him. As Elise approached his table with a polite smile, Laurent smirked and leaned toward his companion. He began to whisper in French, mocking her appearance, her simplicity, and her role as a mere waitress. Regarde-la. Elle n'est qu'une serveuse. Look at her. She is nothing but a waitress. His companion laughed, covering her lips, amused by the cruelty. He never imagined that Elise could understand a single word. To him, the language of the elite was a shield, a tool to exclude those he considered lesser. But Elise had spent years mastering languages, and French was her favorite. Each word he spoke cut her, not because she believed it, but because it reminded her of every person who had looked down on her simply because of where she came from. And in that moment, something inside her stirred, not anger, but strength. She waited until she had placed the wine glasses gently on the table. Then, with the calm grace of someone who knew her worth, she looked him in the eyes and responded in flawless, poetic French. The room went silent. Her words flowed with precision and elegance, not just correcting his insult, but turning it into a lesson about dignity, resilience, and the true value of respect. Guests nearby turned their heads, startled by the sudden shift. The arrogant smile slid from Laurent's face as he realized that the woman he had mocked so carelessly was not just a waitress. She was a scholar, a woman of intelligence far beyond his shallow judgment. For the first time in a long while, he had no words. Elise didn't raise her voice, nor did she show hatred. Instead, her tone carried quiet power, the kind that comes from knowing one's truth. She finished her statement with a respectful nod, turned, and continued her work as though nothing had happened. But the room buzzed with whispers. People admired her courage, her grace, and her brilliance. The billionaire's companion lowered her gaze, embarrassed, and Laurent sat frozen, realizing how small he had looked in that moment. What Elise didn't know was how far the ripples of her courage would spread. Among the guests that night was a university benefactor who had been searching for young talent to support. After witnessing Elise's strength and intellect, he approached her later with an offer of a scholarship, one that would allow her to finish her studies without the crushing weight of financial burden. It was as if destiny itself had stepped in to reward her resilience. For Laurent, the billionaire, that night became a turning point. Humbled and exposed, he was forced to reflect on his arrogance. In the weeks that followed, he found himself haunted by Elise's words, her fluency, and the dignity with which she carried herself. He realized that money had made him blind, and that true power was not found in wealth but in character. Elise's life began to change in ways she had never dreamed. With her scholarship, she graduated with honors, later becoming a respected translator and advocate for underprivileged students. She never let go of her humility or her kindness. And though she had been mocked, she chose forgiveness over bitterness, believing that compassion is the greatest strength of all. In the end, Elise's story is not just about a billionaire and a waitress. It is about every single person who has ever been underestimated, mocked, or dismissed because of their circumstances. It is about the quiet power of dignity, the strength of knowledge, and the courage to stand tall in the face of cruelty. Her reply in French was more than words. It was a reminder that no human being is less than another, and that kindness and respect are the true markers of greatness. If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to like this video, share it with your loved ones, and subscribe so we can continue spreading hope and inspiration.